In the US, if you're paying $1,000 in rent today, you'll likely be paying close to $2,900 in the future. And over time, you'll spend more than $625,000 on rent. That's not extreme. That's a typical scenario. If nothing changes, you're going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on rent, and at the end of it, you own nothing. Most people only know one thing, how much they're paying this month. But almost no one knows how much they'll actually pay over the next 10, 20, or 30 years. Let's look at a real example. If you're paying $1,000 today, in 5 years, it's about $1,190. In 10 years, around $1,400. In 15 years, almost $1,700. And in 20 years, over $2,000. This isn't extreme. This is just normal rent growth. This growth rate is based on historical data. Later in the video, I will show how it is calculated and where it comes from. So, I built a simple tool that shows you exactly that. Not just how your rent grows, but what it really costs you over time. You enter your monthly rent, choose a scenario, and hit start. That's it. Now you can instantly see how your rent grows. At first, it doesn't feel like much. After just 1 year, you're paying only $36 more per month. That's basically a pair of jeans. But then, it starts adding up. After 5 years, you're paying $191 more every single month. That's a new smartphone. And it keeps growing. After 15 years, you're paying almost $700 more every month. That's the price of a new laptop. After 30 years, you're paying $1,853 more every month. That's a vacation every single month. Now look at the total cost over time. After 5 years, you will have spent $64,000. That's enough for a house down payment. After 15 years, you will have spent $230,000. That's the price of a studio apartment. In many parts of the US, that's enough to buy a home. After 30 years, you will have spent $625,000. That's a house in a good neighborhood. Now comes the boring part, but actually, this might be the most important part. It's the same 3.56% every year, but applied to a bigger number each time. That's what makes it explode. One big question still remains. Where does this number even come from? Why do we assume rent grows by around 3.5% per year? Did we just make it up? Guess? Pick a random number? No. If we're projecting rent 10, 20, or 30 years into the future, we need something better than opinions. We need data, reliable data. That's why we use data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, or BLS, the official statistical agency of the United States. And this isn't some random website. The Federal Reserve uses this data. Financial markets rely on it. The government uses it. Employers use it. So, if the Federal Reserve makes trillion-dollar decisions using this data, we can probably use it to estimate rent growth too. BLS tracks something called the Consumer Price Index, or simply CPI. Its job is simple, to measure how prices change over time, but we're interested in only one piece of it: rent of primary residence. In other words, the rent people pay for their main home. Here's how it works. BLS uses 1982 to 1984 as the baseline. That equals 100 points. If the number rises to 120, that means rents are now 20% higher. Simple. 100, 120, plus 20%. Now, here's how we got the estimate. We take the monthly rent data from 1984 to 2024, 40 years of history. We average it by year, then compare each year with the previous one. That gives us the annual growth rate. Some years are low, some years are high. So instead of cherry picking, we rank every year from the lowest growth to the highest. And then we take the value right in the middle, the median. And that number is 3.56%. That's why the typical scenario uses 3.56%, not because it sounds reasonable, not because it feels right, but because history keeps pointing to it. But there's something else you should know. The scenarios inside the tool aren't random. They come directly from 40 years of rent data. Lower growth years become optimistic. Middle of the road years, typical. Higher growth years, pessimistic. Average rent growth comes in at 3.53%. The median, what a typical year actually looks like, is 3.56%. Nearly the same. And that matters, because it tells us this isn't a story driven by a few crazy outlier years. So, the long-term rent trend has been remarkably stable. No one knows the future, but if we want to estimate the next 10, 20, or 30 years, the most reasonable place to start is history. So if nothing changes, this is the path rent usually takes. Not worst case, not best case, just typical. And that's exactly why I built this tool, because most people never actually see where their rent is heading until years have already passed. So, put in your numbers, try your own scenario. It takes 10 seconds, and you might never look at rent the same way again. And now I'm curious, what surprised you the most? The monthly increase or the total cost? Let me know in the comments. And if you like seeing the real numbers behind everyday costs, follow for more.